Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. The following video will contain spoilers from The Flash, second part of the two-part episode, Attack on Central City. So, spoilers. If you haven't watched Attack on Gorilla City, or you haven't watched this yet, and you don't want anything spoiled for you, stop watching now. Hey guys, Dave here. And, sorry I'm a little late to get this video up. Since I started back at my day job, my hours have been kind of fluctuating, and I was about wiped out when I got home, so had to rest and get a little dinned in before I started making this. So we're back on Earth 1. Everything seems to be going rather well. Barry and Iris are celebrating and be all lovey-dovey, and that sense of love is also extended from Earth 19 via way of HR. He starts decorating the speed lab in a tradition he has there called Friend Day. It's kind of like Valentine's Day, but Friendship Day is kind of like their equivalent. So he made cards for everybody, including the grumpy doppelganger HR made one for Harry, so Harry wasn't there to give it to him, but we're looking forward to, just trying to have some celebrations and festivities. Meanwhile, the gang's all having fun. Jesse's talking about moving to Earth 1, and they haven't talked it over with Harry yet. Meanwhile, when everything seems to be going right with the world, out pops Gypsy. She blasts Vibe and Barry, and fortunately Harry was able to take her down with a blast, and they end up putting her in the cell and start finding out what's going on. It turns out she didn't have any recollection of what happened. Last she knew, she was pursuing someone from Earth 19 to Earth 2, where she was captured in Gorilla City, and Grodd made her a puppet. Now they're realizing that this means that if Gypsy was the way to get to Earth 1, then Grodd and his forces are already here, and they are on the outskirts of Central City. They're remaining hidden, but Grodd is showing that he is truly someone not to be played with here. He is incredibly intelligent and thinks strategically. Let's see. During all of this, Harry's working on a way to expand Cisco's vibe powers to try to get a better idea of what's happening in the future. And finally, Jesse and Wally say that Jesse is going to be moving there. And he doesn't freak out. He doesn't throw anything. He's actually kind of eerily calm about it. So this seems to be okay. Of course, later on, when Wally is helping Harry to engineer a device to help expand Cisco's powers, Harry lets slip that he may not be alive much longer, and he doesn't really know. So this starts to make Wally feel iffy, and he ends up telling Jesse about it, even though he was asked not to. That ends up creating a bit of friction, as Team Flash is trying to head to one area that Cisco had managed to vibe. It looks like they got in there early. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Jesse actually stormed in and dropped an interesting DC name. She called Harry Deadman, and pretty much called him on his BS for essentially lying to Wally, saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be much, alive much longer, so spend as much time as you can with him." So she's not happy about that. Eventually, he kind of comes clean. He manages to help find things. The Flash family managed to go to this location, as well as the CPD. Central City PD, and Grodd's not there. So eventually, they start thinking that this has got to be a diversion. Grodd, meanwhile, has kidnapped a colonel, I believe, there's a major military guy who has access to nuclear weapons. He uses Grodd uses the guy to mind controlled to go in and start setting nuclear weapons to launch at Central City. Meanwhile, Cisco is trying to plead with Gypsy to help fight Grodd. Grodd's messed her mind up big time. She saw the horrific things in his head and doesn't want any part to do with it. So they managed to get the heck out of there. Finally, Joe, when he was tapped into Grodd, they decided to try to boost up part of his memory to get this, and to try to figure out what Grodd was thinking of. he got the image of the military guy and found out that they had control of nuclear weapons. Flash runs down to the missiles to try to disarm them, and it split second time. He finally was able to take care of it at the buzzer, basically. With this failing, Grodd now leads hundreds of soldiers in the guerrilla army into Central City. Gypsy has gone back to Earth 19. Actually, back to Earth, back to Earth 19. Was talking with the Accelerated Man, a speedster from that Earth, and then Vi manages to go to try to ask for help. And meanwhile, Barry is wrestling with the possibility: am I going to have to kill Grodd? Every time he comes back, he's smarter, he's better, he's stronger, and they can't figure out a way to do it. So he's thinking about going down a dark path, but everyone else is telling him, look, it's because you're hopeful. It's because you don't always kill. It's because you always find another way. That's what makes you the Flash. So at one point, Barry's even working on a punching bag, like a speed bag, and that was pretty impressive. Eventually, it seems to get through them, and they figure, okay, there is another way. So Cisco contacts Gypsy and manages to convince her to help somehow. So the Flash family shows up at the location. Here comes Grodd leading an army of guerrillas, and they start fighting. And Grodd is kicking butt and taking names. The guerrillas are also taking out Kid Flash and Jesse. And just when they look all knocked down and Grodd is about to, just go after Flash, because he says, the only way you to stop me is to kill me, you won't do it. He says, no, there's always another way. Here comes Vibe and Gypsy through a portal. And here comes Solovar. So, we don't get to see Flash versus Grodd do a final smackdown, but we do get to see Solovar versus Grodd. And I gotta admit, at this point, the fight was so brutal, I started screaming, "Whoop that monkey ass!" I know that the apes are not technically monkeys, but still. So we get to see that, and it looks like Solovar was, managed to whoop Grodd. He was about to kill him, and Flash asks not to. Solovar relents and says what's going to happen to him. He says, look, we will lock him up. We'll make sure he doesn't come back to Earth 2. Solovar agrees and decides to go back to Earth 2 with all of his army. So he's once again leader of Gorilla City. So Gypsy and Vibe are sending them back through via portal. That's going to take some time. Meanwhile, it looks like Grodd has been locked up by Argus, and they even joke about they don't care if they share a cell with King Shark, which would be an interesting grudge match to see. Vibe and Gypsy managed to have an interesting little moment, and one hell of a kiss. I mean, this woman, something else. I'm really hoping that I'm wrong at this point, that maybe she's actually like a female doppelganger of Cisco. I really hope not, otherwise it's going to get really weird. Because Cisco's talking about marrying this woman one day. Anyway, all becomes right in the world. Everything seems to be going fine. Barry is no longer thinking about going dark side to do things to save Iris. And this leads to the first part of a double cliffhanger. So, the first part of the cliffhanger is Barry has set up their apartment all nice, firelit candles and everything. Gets down on one knee, pulls out an Allen family heirloom ring, and asks Iris, "Will you marry me?" And then it cuts to the frickin' epilogue right there. We've got Jesse and Wally together. They're sitting on the couch. They're loving nothing, and she's craving a big belly burger. So he goes to take off. And next thing you know, Wally stops, sees a portal open up, and Savitar comes out. So, Savitar. And he comes running at him, and that's when it cuts off. Double cliffhanger. Never saw that before. I gotta tell you guys, I liked this episode. I mean, yes, it was the second of a two-parter. I wish I would have seen more of a fight between the Flash and Grodd. But the cool thing is, this was a show that felt like it was definitely true to its comic book roots. It felt like a comic book put on the small screen. And I can't really knock that. I mean, there's been times when Flash has been a little iffy here and there. I still remember the monster episode, but this was actually pretty well done in my opinion. It is fairly decent, and the cliffhangers they're doing is making us bite our nails to the next episode, so that's going to be something, which it's kind of good considering that this week there's no episode of Legends of Tomorrow, so it's given us more than enough to make up for that absence until next week when we get to see Rip Hunter loose on the Wave Rider again there, so there's that. So overall, it was an okay episode. I mean, I liked a lot of it. Like I said, I just wish we would have seen more of a throwdown between Grodd and Flash, because that would be a grudge match I would like to see, but Grodd versus Sullivar was also kind of interesting, so we might be seeing the beginning of a friendship here, maybe in the future. So I like, considering how Sullivar was kind of painted to be the bad guy last episode, I kind of like that they're open in that room to make him a potential ally for the Flash family. So I like that. So what do you guys think? Please like, comment, subscribe, share, pass this bad boy around. And tonight, of course, well, I'll get to see another episode of Arrow, and sometime this weekend I'll be doing my Arrow roast, so we'll have to see what that is. Also, check out my last video. I'm trying to start a movement. The one thing that has not appeared on Arrow yet is Oliver Queen's legendary chili. The chili that's so hot that only Batman and him could eat it without crying or being in pain. And I wish I would have said this in my last video, but one of my buddies on Twitter named Christian, after I posted that, he ended up saying, "Oliver Queen, you have failed this chili." I wish I would have come up with that. I really do. So, Christian, good on you, man. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. Until next time, Dave signing off. Peace.